Alright, a new day, a new time to try this video out. I did record this one before, but it went on and on and on. It was well over a half hour. So, let's try and focus in a little bit more on this. This guy is the TS315. I've had some people ask me about it recently, thinking that I would probably like it quite a bit. And you're right, but I've already had it for quite a bit as well. So, I figured I would go ahead and cover this guy. This is it's a TwoSun. By the number, you can tell this is basically one of the newest slip joint kind of things that they've put out for a while. And it's not exactly small, as I apparently have a beard hair on my hands for some particular reason. I'm not sure. Alright, so, yeah, this guy is fairly thick. Let's see, I think it's a little over a ½ inch. Yeah, just a touch over a ½ inch, which I guess for a slip joint, probably a little thick. And that probably has to do with the fact that, yeah, this guy has like 4 layers of titanium, and then you have the back spring in the middle here. It's got a matchstick pull on it, which I do appreciate. Wong seems to do that with his slip joints, and I really do like that. They, it's on both sides, makes it very, very easy to pull this guy out. Now here's basically the one thing that keeps me from wanting to use this almost all the time. The fact that this is a trailing point blade. You can tell kind of the curve on the handle, and that the point is well above the pivot screw sort of thing. And that can come into a couple of problems. Let's try and clean my fingerprints off of this little duder here. There we go. It was bothering me, so I'm guessing it was probably bothering you guys too. Alright, yeah, so the only problem with the trailing point blade that I have is for a lot of EDC tasks, that tip is really far away from you trying to get it onto what you're trying to cut. So you end up kind of having to crane your wrist a little bit. And that's just for utility cuts, like trying to open up a box or something like that. Opening up mail or envelopes or something like that, not really that much of a problem with it. But, a lot of people use EDCs for opening packages because we all get a whole bunch of those these days. But that's really about the only negative thing that I could really say. It has a lot of similarities to one of my other slip joints that I had previously thought was one of the best things ever, and that's the TS. What is it? The 123? Yeah, I think so. It'd be kind of nice if they actually stamped the model number next to the steel or something like that. It would help quite a bit, I think. But yes, fairly similar in a lot of ways. Similar length. Also titanium construction. Both have clips on them. This guy's just a little bit more clip point, so just a little bit more EDC friendly. But it does remind me quite a bit of it, so that's why I kind of pulled it out here. Now the designs here on the front are kind of interesting. We do have a brass insert going on here. And it's kind of interesting how they have this attached. So I will probably try to get that near the end of the video. But yeah, as we can see, we have some, things that are representative of, most likely flowers. That's my best guess. But they're 7 dots sort of thing there. And then we have this guy that's basically broken up. We have 4, 5, 6, 7. So altogether it makes that. So just kind of little interesting thing. I have no idea what this design is supposed to represent, whether it's kind of the topographical layout of a river or something like that. I honestly don't know. But yeah, we do have it plain on the other side. Makes it just a little bit more comfortable. Besides, it would be kind of obscured by the clip. This clip has, it looks a little funky and jagged, but those are basically kind of little finger groove areas that work out pretty darn well for making it very comfortable and disappearing into the hand. So you have a slip joint, you have a clip, and you don't generally get a lot of those hot spots on there, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, another knife that I kind of want to bring out here. It's another Wong one, and it has to do with basically these patterns that are kind of broken up. This is, what, I think the 318? Maybe the 315, I don't know. But yeah, very, very different design, also by Wong. But yeah, we also have kind of established patterns and then some segments off sort of thing there. That's just kind of a thing he's been playing around with recently, as this is another one on the 300 series. So I figured I would mention that. Let's see, I have one other kind of comparison thing here that I thought of that was kind of another one of those greatest hits that I can compare to some other stuff here. And this has to do with the pocket clip here, where it has these kind of strange design due to basically having these finger groove kind of things going on in the pocket clip. By the way, you have a pretty decent landing patch, and it's kind of angled. Actually goes in and out of the pocket really, really nicely. I do really like that. But what I'm talking about are these finger grooves here. And you, just by kind of looking at it, it doesn't look exactly super comfortable. And that was the same thing that I thought of with, this is a Boker Kalashnikov 74, so Desert Warrior pattern, but whatever, they're all the same. And you look at the pocket clip and you're like, what on earth are they thinking with this thing? But surprisingly, it's very comfortable in the hand, even though it really, really doesn't look like it would be. And if we also want to go slip joint style, we have the pocket clip here on the Cold Steel Lucky One, and that kind of has that strange thing there too. And these is basically little cutouts for your fingers as well, and very, very comfortable in that same sort of way. All right, yeah, that was a whole bunch of comparisons and whatnot. If you weren't interested in that, yeah, it's fine. It's done and over with now. But yes, this thing has quite the nice back spring on there. We're probably talking 7.5, maybe 8. I don't know. It's quite significant. You're not really going to have problems with this closing on you unless you, without paying attention, swing the knife back towards something that you're trying to cut with enough force to, fully have that sort of go down there. This guy has 2 grips on him, which is interesting. You have the standard one here where you're back a little bit further from the blade, and that makes it a 3-finger grip, and that's does a great job with the pocket clip grooves and everything like that. Very nice and comfortable there, but yeah, it is a 3-finger grip at that point. But we also do have a little bit of a groove kind of going on here. You can choke up to get much closer to the blade there. And for me, even with my larger hands, that's a full 4-finger grip. No problem whatsoever there. This thing does have a bit of a sharpening choil on there, which is nice. And that can help if, you're holding on to the knife and it is going to kind of go there. If you're choking up, then yeah, that thing's probably going to save you from, catastrophic failure of your fingers. But yeah, if you're holding it in the standard one there, then the half stop will probably save you as well. So this one seems to be one of the more safe TwoSun slip joints that I've seen out there. A lot of them really don't take much of the closure in mind and will happily slice right through your index finger there if you're not careful. So I do appreciate that quite a bit. Another thing I really appreciate about this is the thin blade stock that we have going on here. This stuff is probably already in the description, but yes, as a standard slip joint, this is an M390, which is pretty darn good. This one seems to have a decent temper on it. Nothing absolutely amazing, but still very, very capable. I've kind of taken it down to a 15-degree edge, as I usually do for M390, and seems to work out quite nicely. let's see, as far as that blade stock thickness that I was just talking about, we can go ahead and measure that. I'll go ahead and close her up real quick for it. Make sure that it's actually zeroed. And yeah, we're at 2.3 millimeters, which is fantastic to see, because a lot of slip joints, especially a lot of them from TwoSun, more than a lot of other companies, are incredibly thick blade stock. We're talking like 3.5 to 4 millimeters kind of things going on there. So that makes this thing very, very nice and slicey. It was also the thing that I appreciated about this TS123, that also had a thinner blade stock than most. So that's absolutely fantastic. I really do quite like a lot of the aesthetics of it. We kind of have a this looks more of a bead blasted kind of finish there. It's almost even, but not quite. You know, just a little bit of those irregularity sort of things, and kind of has that darkened, maybe like an acid wash sort of thing before they did the bead blast on there. But very much looks like a working finish. Hides a lot of scratches and all that sort of stuff that have probably come up over time, so that's pretty good. And it seems like they have a pretty decent sealant going on for the brass on here, because it hasn't tarnished too much on me, even though that I've used it and haven't really polished it up or anything like that. So those are all pretty darn good positive things about it. There is one thing that I have noticed that this has that I'm usually not a huge fan of, and that's the shadow box liners, where the liners are proud of the handle scales. However, this one doesn't seem to do too bad as far as that goes, and also having a back spring in there also minimizes having that hole in the middle right behind the blade that usually bothers me quite a bit with these. So this one actually doesn't bother me all that much with it. You know, and I suppose just thinking about it normally, I might personally prefer if they weren't shadow boxed at all, but I also understand that that helps a little bit more with contouring and everything. And this is comfortable enough as it is. So there you go. If you're not a fan of shadow box liners like me, then this guy probably won't bother you quite as much. All right. Yeah, so this thing, let's see, it is not exactly a small little thing. Let's go ahead and get the blade measurement going on here. And we are, yeah, just a smidge over 2.9 inches. Which, you know, for a slip joint that would sit down in your pocket, that might be a little bit large. You know, that's why the Buck 110 and 112 Ranger, 112 would probably be somewhere around this size, will come with like a little pocket sheath or something like that for you to carry it on your belt. This one doesn't, but fortunately it does have that pocket clip, so you're really not going to have that problem. Yeah, it's, you know, I guess for the American market, these things probably aren't quite as important, but for a little bit more of the European market and everything, there's a lot of things about that that's great. You know, this is under 3 inches, so it's carryable in a lot of locations. Not all of them, unfortunately. Some of them are even restricted lower than that, but most places in Europe, you're probably pretty good with that. And it does have a pocket clip, making it fairly easy to get out there. And there's not a whole lot of other ones that do that. You know, like the Spider K UK penknife or UK PK does that. Which is interesting that that's basically the only version of the Calypso that's kind of left. Oh well, whatever. That's just me looking fondly back on a very, very old original Calypso in black micarta that we had in our shop for a very, very long time. And I got very sad when somebody purchased it when I was basically saving up some money for it. But at least it's got a good home. So, yeah, whatever. Okay. So I basically got all the measurements. I got the blade stock thickness, how thick that is, blade length, weight. That's the other one. And yes, this is made out of titanium. However, it's not incredibly light, obviously, as it's got like 4 layers of it. So we got 6.3, 6.4, or 3.63 or 3.64 ounces, 103 grams. So not exactly a super duper lightweight. And if you were to toss this in the bottom of your pocket and you wear something like, athletic shorts or sweatpants or something like that, yeah, this might be a little bit large and kind of dangling around. But it does have a pocket clip on there. Myself, generally when I'm out and about, I'm wearing work pants or shorts of some sort. Mostly from Carhartt, just because they're really durable, and I was tired of having a lot of slacks give up the ghost on me pretty quickly. So that's mostly what I end up wearing. And I also almost exclusively wear a belt when I'm out and about, because I'm conscious about having my ass cracks sticking out. So with that, having, some pants that are suspended by a belt, pocket knife weight doesn't bother me one bit, which is why I don't mind when something is a little bit heavier than that, ounce and inch mark or whatnot. I do still appreciate a light knife, but it's not something that's going to deter me. So I guess if that's something you weren't quite aware of with me, then yeah, I do get the weights of them, but weight generally isn't a large decision maker on whether or not I'm going to prefer or like a knife. So there we go. That basically covers everything that I wanted to talk about with the construction and use and everything of this guy. It's got a lot of considerations in there. It's got a lot of design elements and everything that really does look like it's been evolved quite a bit over the years that Wong has been designing knives, and it's pretty darn fantastic. Like I said, the only downside I really have to it is that it's a trailing point blade, which makes it a little bit difficult to get to the tip for some EDC tasks. That being said, if you do want to kind of use this for more hunting tasks, you can definitely skin easier with this thing. You definitely want trailing points really help for that, because the point is well away from where you're trying to cut. Makes it much less difficult to accidentally poke something that you don't want to poke, like a particular organ that might have something that you don't want getting onto the meat or whatnot. Yeah, it is what it is, but that's certainly a good application there. But yeah, that's everything that I really wanted to cover about kind of just the standard review and all that sort of stuff for it. So if that's what you're here for, then I appreciate y'all for watching, and you're free to go. However, I do want to kind of take this guy apart a little bit, because I do want to just kind of take a look on the inside here. And hopefully that won't take a whole long time to open up and everything. But that's what I'm going to do now. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and pull this pocket clip off. Only held on with one screw, but there we go. Very asymmetrical hole for the clip, as well as a proud standoff or stud or whatnot, that Chicago screw, whatever the heck you want to call it. Makes the clip very, very nice and solid. Doesn't really get any movement kind of going on there. And it's also TA construction all the way around. This guy does have doesn't have a D-shaped pivot on it. And this one came out, the pivot came off pretty easily, but sometimes it doesn't, like the last time. And you can basically just squeeze the blade into the handle a little bit, and that puts a little bit more lateral tension on there, and kind of keeps the pivots from spinning around on you. So it's a kind of a neat trick to do if you are having trouble getting a pivot screw off, and that doesn't only apply to slip joints. So any other folding knives that might or might not have a D-shaped pivot, then you can certainly employ that for there. But okay, so yeah, we got the this guy pulled off. That's neat. Almost kind of think that, well, I mean, you could technically skeletonize some of that in there, but there's just so much material that it really wouldn't help out all that much. But yeah, once we're in here, we basically have 2 pins. This will become a little bit more relevant here in a moment. But you can also see that we have a blade stop pin when it's closed. That way we don't get any blade wrap when we're closing the blade really quickly. Something that isn't always taken into consideration, unfortunately, but it certainly is here. All right, so I will push in that pivot just a little bit, and then I can pull that out. And that's the liner. Yep, it's titanium. And, well, here we are. We got a phosphor bronze washer. That happens on both sides of those, which is great. That's kind of the thing you want to see. All right. Well, that happened a little bit differently than I was expecting, but it's open. So there's the other phosphor bronze washer there. I did lose that stop pin. It rolled into my lap, so I'll pick that up when I'm putting this thing back together. But that's perfectly fine. And yeah, let's see. Let's go ahead and, well, I can just kind of leave that here. And here is basically the brass insert, which, hey, they basically did do some skeletonization, essentially, to allow it to fit in there. And yeah, that's how it is. So we do have a lot of structure behind that, so you don't really have to worry too much about that kind of coming loose or doing anything kind of crazy like that. This does look like it was probably cast, and you know, they just didn't really have a need to trim up a lot of the chaff or something like that. Whatever it's called, shmoo, I don't know, whatever you do when you're doing any the plastic like pressing or anything like that, where you got the edges that usually get cut off afterwards or whatnot. So it's kind of interesting. It's also interesting that this is either, you know, either cast or machined, but also, you know, it's very, very accurate as far as being put together, that it fits in so nice and snug there, which, you know, that's just kind of an exemplary thing of, you know, just complimenting them on their ability to do that machining and have a decent tolerance for it. So I do like that quite a bit. And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about here is this back spring design, which I absolutely love. For this sort of thing, you have a couple of these pins here that will sit into that liner, and will sit into the other liner as well. And you also have basically that stop pin, which I will find in a little bit. But what I do like is how they've done this this back part with the Chicago screw. On quite a few other slip joints from TwoSun, that is a full hole through. So, you know, it would have a hole drilled in the middle here, and then it would go in there. And that actually makes it really, really difficult for trying to line everything up and get it back together, because you have to fight to have tension or whatever. Whereas this one, it provides the tension, or it provides enough tension and support there on the back, but doesn't encapsulate that in there. It just makes, you know, reassembly just a little bit easier, which is fantastic. I'm super happy with all of that. Let's see, where did that little guy go? Gonna grab my magnet. Ha-ha. My magnet currently has my Dremel clip to it. That way I can... That was probably incredibly loud. I apologize for that. But that way I can keep it basically dangling underneath my table until I absolutely need it. And it keeps it out of the way. It's a pretty fantastic thing. Alright, so yeah, let's go ahead and put this thing back together. I do want that stop pin in there first. And we'll go ahead and throw that on there. That's that one. So this is the pivot screw. So there's that. I shall shove the other one through the other side here. This one's still not exactly the absolute easiest thing in the known universe to put back together. But as far as slip joints go, I really don't have too much of a problem with this one compared to a lot of others. Just want to make sure that both of those pins are actually in place. And because that was in there before, we're all good with that. Alright, so I do basically the Chris Reeves style of putting these back in. So I already have that washer in there. And I will stick the blade basically above where it's supposed to be, and with this kind of lever the spring into there we go. So yeah, as you're turning a little bit, you're putting a lot of lateral force back down onto it, and that basically shoves the blade down once it pushes up against that spring there. That's kind of the least destructive way to try to do some of that. Alright, and then this part is usually not exactly the funnest thing in the known universe of trying to line up pins afterwards on something. A lot of times you'll run into, where they don't exactly want to match up exactly. And some of that has to do with the angle in which you kind of put them back on there. It does help a little bit if you start at the top, but sometimes even that really isn't going to help out enough. And in those particular circumstances, you can do something with a pair of pliers, which is what I'm going to try to do here. Unless you really want to scratch and mar up everything, you really do want to use something. This is microfiber cloth that you'll want to put over that area. But yeah, you can go ahead and do that and give her some squeezes. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm still just a little bit out with the blade stop. So way up here, go ahead and see if we can't get that a little bit better. Probably. I don't know. Let's put the rest of it together and see what we get. I will start with the pivot screw here because that's kind of the more important one to me. Yeah. Back off on the tension just a little bit so that it's not super stiff. And get that pocket clip back in there. All right. Yep. We are certainly back together. Absolutely no side-to-side play, up and down play, lateral, any of that sort of stuff. All sorts of good. We are all back together. That was relatively painless, especially as far as slip joints go. But you get more practice on them as time goes on. But all right, so that was the fun stuff of kind of seeing the inside here of this slip joint, which I don't necessarily think everyone appreciates, which is why I kind of said, hey, if you're if that's what you came here for earlier in the video, then yeah, you can do that as well. At some point in the future, I would like the ability to get chapters for these videos, so I can kind of segment it out and people can, you know, select the parts that they actually want to watch rather than going, oh god, he's taking it apart, if they don't care about that. So I don't know exactly what kind of viewership hours or subscriptions or any of that sort of stuff is necessary for it. Haven't really looked into it, but I am certainly happy to segment that out, because that's the beauty of YouTube. You can watch what you want to watch, and if something isn't to your liking, then you can either skip through it to get back to something that you do, or any of that other stuff. And certainly doesn't hurt my feelings, because I know I do that with other videos as well myself. Anyway, that's everything that I really have to say about this TS315. It's fantastic. As I said, the only thing that would make it just a little tiny bit better for me personally is if it wasn't quite the curvy traily point blade. But other than that, it's absolutely fantastic in basically every way that I can really say that I would want here in a slip joint, outside of you know, possibly the fact that it's a little weighty. But there you go. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.